questions. In the era of content marketing, how critical is the role of storytelling in creating content? What do you think about this?
So I think the role of storytelling is critical in the era of marketing, of all marketing, and historically a lot of the brand advertising in print and in TV was all about telling the story of the brand in a compelling way. I think when we moved a lot of the advertising dollars to online, especially with the online display, the ability to tell a story in a compelling way just went away. You can't tell a story in a banner like this or like that. And so I think what we're seeing with the online content marketing now is really going back to the roots of having brands tell a compelling story that consumers are interested in.
We see at this moment that every brand wants to tell us stories. No? It's a big hype. No? So I think it's a hype. So brands have to tell us good stories to the consumers. We do it well, I think, because some stories are not so interesting, something are more interesting. I think it's a very important point.
That's
what you say. No?
Yeah, and to me that's what a brand is. If a brand doesn't have a story that's compelling to certain people, to certain consumers, then really it's just a product. It can't call itself a brand. And I think brands forever has been about what they mean for the consumer and what the story is behind the product.
That's right. Companies need to change their mindset to adapt to new content strategies. But are they prepared? You think they are this moment prepared? How is the adaptation process developing?
I think it's always an adaptation process, an education process to start to get into a different mindset. And a lot of the brands, as they've been thinking about online, was really about display advertising. So there is an educational process and adaptation. But again, I think at the core of what a brand is the ability to tell a story. And so they've done it pretty well in TV and in print. And I think this is just about bringing that mindset to online, and it's absolutely happening.
I think you come from the US, no? The United States. I think we as a child, when we are a child, we see Popeye. It's a good storytelling. No? Popeye, spinach, no? So we learn. I think the United States is one of the pioneers of good storytelling with this kind of series of television. So do you think your market is more developed and we can learn a lot? And also here in Europe, in Spain or other countries from your market? Because I think it's just at this angle.
I think in terms of online content marketing, probably the U.S. is the most forward-thinking at this point. There's a lot of effort being put in by publishers. We're seeing many of the publishers getting into what they call native advertising, which is a form of content marketing. So companies like the New York Times and The Atlantic developing content for brands. We're seeing the agencies do the same. So I think they're pretty far ahead in those terms. But Europe is happening absolutely as well.
Transmedia, two ways, collaborative or visual storytelling, are some of the concepts that are emerging as a result of the evolution, no? This evolution, sorry. What has caused these elements to emerge, and where do you think the industry is heading in this moment?
I think that those concepts are influenced by how people use the internet, and we used to use media by sitting back and watching something and it was all coming to us, whereas on the internet people are used to communicating back and forth, and you Facebook back and forth and you email back and forth. And so I think a lot of how brands are thinking about storytelling now is not the old TV way of we'll get a captive audience and we'll interrupt it, but rather how do we create compelling content that the audience wants to get involved with and maybe comment on and maybe share on social networks. So I think the form of storytelling and the collaborative storytelling just reflects how people use the internet.
What do you think, Yaron, what happens when everybody's telling us stories and the consumer will get so much stories that he will say, my God, what can I do with all this? What do you think about some spontaneous questions?
Well, I think it's a very valid concern, which is exactly why I started Outbrain. The idea with Outbrain was very similar to what happened in search. You know, when the internet started, there was just so much to do and to look at, and we needed the search engine to organize all that so we can really find the stuff that's most relevant and interesting. And exactly for the same reason I started Outbrain, which is it's obvious we're going to have a lot of messages and a lot of content showing up at us. And when I started Outbrain, I had a lot of content that I was interested in reading, not content marketing, but just content. And so I saw the need for content discovery engine that helps filter everything and understand what each individual is interested in and give them the exact content, the stories that we think each one of them is going to be interested in, whether those are promoted by our brand or whether those are just organic content.
We personally, we like very much the concept because we are using it in marketingdirector.com. We are using your concept, the stories behind on the floor of our stories, and it's going very well. And we see also in Spain, I think it's going very well because we notice when we see the different newspapers online that a lot of them are working with you, and it's really a good point for the user to find interesting stories. Right? So
we need the technology and the algorithms and the data to really customize the content discovery for each individual so that they're not swamped with all this irrelevant stuff that the marketers want to throw at them, but rather that they get the experience that's most interesting for them.
It's a good experience. In this way, how platforms can help companies, and why? In what way do you think the above elements can help companies?
So, I think probably the biggest way with platforms like Outbrain or Facebook or Twitter is the ability to reach an audience at scale. Creating the story and telling a compelling story is something brands have done forever, and I think they do quite a good job at it. But once you have a story, you need to really reach the audience, and as you said, we're at an era where there's just so much content available and so much distraction, and so platforms like, again, Facebook, Twitter, Pinterest, Outbrain, are platforms that help marketers really reach the audience that is going to be most interested in the story that they have to tell. I'd say that the distribution or amplification of their story to the right audience is the best way platforms like us can help them.
And the last question, what is motivated you to attend this year, I think it's the second year or third year, I don't know, at dmexco here in Köln? How are you finding this year, what you're seeing here? What would you like to take with you from this event? I know it's the first day, it's the first minutes, it's not easy question, but how is your feeling about this?
So it's not my first dmexco. It's my second.
It's your second dmexco,
yes.
okay.
And it might be noisy now. It's a wonderful conference. I think it brings the forward thinking of where this industry is going and the best ideas in the world, but also is probably the most international of them. So conferences like this in the US are great, but they're really very American, and I think the ability to have publishers and marketers and agencies from Germany and France and Spain and just all over the world is really unique for dmexco, and we can see it, even though it just started, we can see it in the hallway here with the companies that are present, so it's wonderful.
Because in the United States, do we have some similar event like this? Is there some similar event?
Yeah, there's
San Francisco or...
There are a few events like this, but America tends to be very American.
Yes, so this is more international for you, and this is a good point. Okay, then, Yaron, thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.